Look at the ground beneath your feet. You likely walked past a miracle this morning and called it a weed. You have been conditioned by a system that wants you blind to the wealth growing in the cracks of your driveway. While you navigate the aisles of your local grocery store, you are actually inside a controlled enclosure. It is a carefully curated environment designed to keep you dependent on fragile supply chains and synthetic substitutes. But what if I told you that the ultimate jailbreak is already in your backyard? We are about to drop a nutritional nuke that will change how you view food security forever. This suppressed botanical powerhouse contains more protein by weight than a cut of beef. It holds a concentration of vitamin B12 so high it defies standard laws of terrestrial plant biology. For those seeking true independence, this is the holy grail of survival. It is a biological anomaly providing everything the industrial food complex says you can only get from their shelves. We have been lied to about what is necessary to thrive during a collapse. This plant doesn't just offer calories. It offers total escape from the nutritional scarcity the state uses to maintain control over your life. You are holding the keys to autonomy, but the gates are being locked from the outside. But if this plant is the ultimate insurance policy for your family, why is it being treated like a biohazard by the most powerful governments on Earth? The European Union and the FDA didn't just stumble upon this plant. They targeted it. Under the guise of public safety, they have effectively criminalized the internal use of a botanical resource that humanity has relied upon for centuries. They point to trace amounts of pyrrolizidine alkaloids as the reason for this aggressive crackdown. They call it a danger to your liver, yet they permit the sale of processed chemicals and addictive additives that cause systemic organ failure across the globe. This isn't about your health. It is about control. By labeling this plant as a biohazard, the system ensures that you remain tethered to their centralized distribution networks. This is a strategic suppression of a resource that represents an existential threat to the trillion-dollar pharmaceutical and fertilizer monopolies. If you can grow your own medicine and generate your own nitrogen-rich soil, you stop being a consumer and start being a sovereign individual. Big Pharma cannot patent a weed that grows in a ditch. Big AG cannot sell you synthetic solutions if your backyard is already a self-sustaining engine of life. This plant has been banned from store shelves in Europe and relegated to the shadows in America because independence is the one thing the corporate state cannot tolerate. While they broadcast warnings about toxicity to the masses, a very different reality is unfolding behind closed doors. The global elite are not ignoring this plant. They are securing it. Deep within private seed banks and high-security agricultural research facilities, the very people telling you to stay away are ensuring they have a lifetime supply of this genetic gold. They understand that when the global supply chain finally snaps, those who possess this plant will hold the keys to survival. They are betting on your ignorance to ensure their own dominance. Our ancestors knew its power. Soon you will understand why the gatekeepers are so afraid. They want you terrified of the very thing that could finally set you free. They want you to believe it's a poison, but the history books they've tried to burn tell a very different story. The name that has been whispered in the shadows of the survivalist movement is comfrey. But we are not talking about the common wild variety that spreads uncontrollably. We are talking about the ultimate miracle of the botanical world, the Bocking 14 Russian comfrey. This is nature's rebellion in physical form. It is a plant that refuses to comply with the standard laws of reproduction. You see, Bocking 14 is a sterile hybrid. It produces no seeds, meaning it cannot be colonized or commodified by the giant seed corporations that seek to own the very DNA of our food supply. Because it produces no seeds, it has been effectively erased from the mainstream agricultural markets. You cannot simply walk into a corporate garden center and buy a packet of this independence. To possess this plant, you must enter an underground network of physical handoffs. It is propagated through root cuttings, fragments of a living legacy passed from one sovereign individual to the next. This is the ghost plant of the survival world. It exists off the grid, beyond the reach of digital tracking and genetic patents. Every patch of Bocking 14 in existence today is a direct clone of a secret original, shared by those who understand that true security cannot be bought. It must be cultivated. It is a biological silent partner in your quest for autonomy. By planting this root, you make a definitive choice to step outside a failing system. It is the silent engine of the homestead, working tirelessly beneath the surface to provide what the state would rather sell at premiums. This ensures you have a source of life. Once you have it, you own the means of production for medicine and soil. And that is exactly what makes you a threat to Big AG. The system counts on your scientific illiteracy. They want you to believe that nutrition only comes from a cardboard box or a plastic jug. But when we look at the raw biochemistry of Bocking 14 comfrey, the corporate facade crumbles. Let's look at the numbers they don't want you to see. When we talk about bone health, we are told to drink pasteurized milk. Yet, this miracle plant contains 17 times more calcium than milk. When you look at potassium, a critical mineral for heart health and nerve function, Comfort leaves the banana, the industry's poster child, in the dust. This is a superior, bioavailable profile that makes standard supermarket produce look like empty cellulose. How does it do this? The secret lies beneath the surface. While most vegetables have shallow, weak root systems that rely on constant chemical feeding, Comfort possesses a biological masterpiece: the nutrient straw. This massive taproot can punch through compacted clay and rock, reaching depths of 10 feet or more. It mines the primordial subsoil, pulling up minerals and trace elements that haven't seen the sun in millennia. It brings up the deep wealth of the earth and deposits it directly into its massive, hairy leaves. It is literally harvesting a secret reserve of health that your neighbor's lettuce can't even touch. But the most explosive component is a compound called allantoin. In the world of pharmaceutical science, allantoin is known as a potent cell proliferant. It speeds up the natural healing process of the body by stimulating cell regeneration at an accelerated rate. This is why our ancestors called it knitbone. Whether it is a deep skin tear or a fractured limb, Comfort facilitates a level of repair that would effectively bankrupt the multibillion-dollar wound care and orthopedic recovery industry. If every household had a steady supply of this biological regenerator, the dependency on expensive, synthetic topical creams and slow-acting recovery protocols would vanish. We are talking about a plant that is essentially a living pharmacy and a multivitamin laboratory combined. It processes the raw elements of the deep earth into a form that the human body can utilize with incredible efficiency. This is not just food. It is a biochemical intervention against a modern diet that is designed to keep you weak, mineral deficient, and perpetually seeking the next prescription. The system fears this data because you cannot regulate a plant that grows faster than you can harvest it. They want you focused on the minute risks of alkaloids while ignoring the massive, life-changing benefits of its mineral density. This is the ultimate weapon in the war for biological sovereignty, providing a level of physical resilience that the modern world has forgotten. In mass industrial sickness, owning this plant is like possessing a decentralized health insurance policy. It stands as a testament to what is possible when we reconnect now. But the nutrition is only half the story. The real reason they want this plant erased is because it destroys the need for their synthetic chemical products. The modern agricultural system is built on a foundation of forced dependency. Every spring, millions of people are funneled into big box stores to purchase heavy bags of synthetic, petroleum-based fertilizers. This is a recurring tax on your ability to grow food, a subscription model enforced by Big AG to ensure they maintain total control over the soil. But Bocking 14 comfrey represents a terminal threat to this monopoly. In the world of permaculture, we call it a dynamic accumulator. It is a biological pump that extracts nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium from the deep earth and stores them in its massive leaves. When you harvest these leaves and apply them to your garden as green manure, you are bypassing the entire industrial supply chain. You are creating high-grade, nutrient-dense fertilizer for free. This is exactly why this plant has been suppressed and marginalized. A self-fertilizing garden is a garden the state cannot tax, track, or control. It is a direct act of economic rebellion. By growing comfrey, you are effectively opting out of the multi-billion-dollar chemical industry that poisons the earth while draining your bank account. The system labels this plant as a nuisance or a danger because it provides an alternative to their expensive supplements and toxic sprays. If you can heal your soil and your body with a plant that requires zero external inputs, their entire business model collapses. We are currently living through an economic siege against the self-sufficient man. Inflation is skyrocketing, and the cost of basic garden inputs is being manipulated to price the average person out of food sovereignty. They want you dependent on their fragile, centralized networks so that you are easier to manage when the next global crisis arrives. Comfrey offers a way out. It is a permanent, perennial source of fertility that actually improves the more you harvest it. It creates a closed-loop system where independence is the default setting. The global elite despise this level of autonomy because an independent individual is an unpredictable one. They prefer a population that relies on a barcode for their next meal and a pharmacy for their next breath. By reclaiming this plant, you are taking a hammer to the foundations of their corporate empire. You are declaring that your survival is not for sale. You are securing a future that does not require a credit card or a government permit to maintain. The implications of this are staggering and reach far beyond the borders of your backyard. Reclaiming your soil is how we win the war for life and sovereignty. If everyone knew how to use this, the global supply chain for fertilizer, currently in a state of collapse, would become irrelevant overnight. The history of humanity is not found in the sanitized textbooks of the modern classroom, but in the soil that sustained our forebears through the darkest chapters of existence. For centuries, symphytum was not a banned substance. It was the backbone of survival for those facing the collapse of order. During the Napoleonic Wars, the legendary resilience of soldiers was often credited to this botanical ally, used to mend shattered limbs and restore the weary when medical supplies were non-existent. When the Irish potato famine ravaged the land, those who held the forbidden knowledge of this plant found a source of fertility and nutrition that the failing potato could no longer provide. It was the ancestral lifeline that kept families whole when the world was falling apart. So, how did such a miracle disappear from the public consciousness? It was systematically deleted. During the mid-20th century, a movement known as the Green Revolution swept across the globe. This was not about nature. It was about industry and killing independence. Modern agricultural textbooks were purged of traditional wisdom to make way for a new, petroleum-based paradigm. The goal was simple: replace the free, perennial wisdom of the earth with a high-cost, high-dependency model of synthetic inputs. The resilient ancestor, who could heal their own wounds and feed their own soil with a single plant, was replaced by the sickly European, a citizen entirely dependent on a global supply chain for their next breath of vitality. This erasure was a calculated strike against human autonomy. By removing comfort from the educational record, the system ensured that future generations would view the grocery store as their only savior. We have been severed from a lineage of strength that dates back millennia. This knowledge was erased because it makes you dangerous to those who profit from your weakness. When you understand how to utilize the secret minerals of the earth without the control of any middleman, you become a threat to the machine. They have labeled this ancestral wisdom as dangerous folklore or outdated superstition. Yet the results remain undeniable for those brave and wise enough to look. We are reclaiming a forbidden heritage that was nearly lost to the fires of corporate greed. We must now choose to remember this truth: our ancestors survived the collapse of empires using this weed. Today, the system is betting that you've forgotten how to find it. Securing your independence does not require a sprawling farm. It requires a strategy of deep stealth. To the untrained eye of an HOA board member or a city inspector, Bocking 14 comfrey looks like nothing more than a lush, decorative shrub. Its large, vibrant leaves and elegant bell-shaped flowers provide the perfect camouflage for your clandestine survival operation. While your neighbors plant ornamental hostas that provide zero utility, you are cultivating a hidden engine of life. The key to this operation is the specific selection of the Bocking 14 variety. Unlike wild comfrey, which can aggressively colonize a landscape and draw unwanted attention, the Bocking 14 is a sterile hybrid. It stays exactly where you put it, focusing all its biological energy into biomass production rather than seed dispersal. This allows for a massive, high-yield harvest within a very small, controlled footprint that remains virtually invisible to satellite surveillance or prying neighbors. To maximize the utility of this secret resource, you must master the chop and drop method. This is a ritual for soil health that removes the need for any external fertilizer. You simply harvest the massive leaves 3 or 4 times a season and lay them directly at the base of your fruit trees or vegetable beds. As these leaves decompose, they release a concentrated surge of minerals into the topsoil, creating a self-sustaining loop that the system cannot track or tax. It is a silent, underground revolution happening right on the surface of your own private property. In a world where gardening is becoming increasingly regulated, this level of stealth is your greatest asset. You are building a fortress of fertility under the very noses of those who wish to keep you dependent. This is not just gardening. It is a tactical deployment of ancestral biology. You are opting out of the industrial machine one root cutting at a time, ensuring that your family has access to superior nutrition and medicine even when the store shelves are empty and the social contract has completely dissolved. The illegal vibe surrounding these restricted nutrients only reinforces the necessity of your work. True freedom is found in the absolute ability to produce what you need without permission, taxes, or oversight. But even if you grow it, you need to know how to use it when the lights go out. And that's where the survivalist utility becomes life or death. In a total collapse, the difference between a survivor and a statistic is the diversity of their off-grid assets. Bocking 14 comfrey is not just a plant. It is the ultimate insurance policy for an uncertain future. When the grid goes dark and the global supply chain is erased from existence, this botanical miracle becomes your most versatile tactical tool. If you have livestock, you have a high-protein feed that grows regardless of grain shortages. If you have a broken limb or a deep wound, you have the ancestral medicine required to heal when hospitals are shuttered. If your soil is depleted, you have the organic fuel needed to keep your food forest producing without a single drop of commercial fertilizer. In a state of total system failure, the dependencies we take for granted will transform into a terminal threat. Those who rely on the grocery store for their daily bread will face a reality of starvation and desperation. Meanwhile, those who secured their independence through this suppressed route will possess a self-sustaining engine of life. You are building a fortress of biological resilience that can withstand the greatest social shocks. This is the difference between being a victim of the collapse and being a pioneer of the new world. This plant provides a level of security that gold and lead cannot match. It is the silent guardian. The question isn't whether you should plant it. The question is, will you do it before the window of opportunity slams shut? The window for reclaiming this forbidden knowledge is closing fast. Every second this video remains live is a victory against those who want these truths suppressed. They cannot stop the spread of independence if we act together. Join us and become part of the growing network of rebels dedicated to shadow education. You must download this footage and share it immediately before the algorithms ensure it is flagged or permanently de-indexed. This information is a direct threat to their control. Subscribe now to secure your access to the truth. Stand tall, stay vigilant, and never stop growing your own freedom.